Got everyone in?
I think everyone's going to hopefully it'll pop up in the mail.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Rick Berger. I serve on the airport board out here. We have Jeff and Kara that's on the staff, and Monica Newhouse here with us tonight. Thank you for taking time and joining us. Tonight is the Terre Haute Regional Airport Gateway Strategic Planning Meeting. And we started this back in September, October 2019. And where we started and where we're at today, I'm just very proud of the report to you. We've got a lot of exciting things to share with you. One thing that, as a board, since we supported this at the beginning here, we wanted to see collaboration, communication, and also talk to all the stakeholders involved. And Monica, you and your team have certainly met that, working with Jeff and Kara. Appreciate that. The other thing, you'll see a plan here tonight. With three options here: development options for the airport, gateway beautification, and just an overall airport overlay of zoning, why that's important too. So I'd just like to say thank you to all the stakeholders, that's, county, city, chamber, art spaces, and the list just goes on of the people we've talked with. This is truly a community project. I've lived here in this community for 18 years. And I know that we can do many more of these and continue to expand on this. So at this point in time, I'm going to turn it over to Monica Newhouse. Monica, thank you for all your good work. Share it.
Thank you. So the first question a lot of people ask is, what is this strategic plan? So the business corridor along Indiana 46, US 40 on the east side has developed into a commercial corridor. And that location, a lot of people may not realize, is immediately adjacent to the airport and the longest runway at the airport. And so development pressure could be an issue, but there are a lot more opportunities than problems. But the compatible land use challenges are a big deal. So the goal is to do coordinated planning for both the airport and the commercial corridor. It provides an opportunity to identify where certain types of development can happen and where it can't, to preserve the utility of the airport. So the main elements that we're talking about tonight are the development options, gateway beautification, and airport overlay zone. Now I'm going to talk about each one of those in a lot more depth. So first, some airport-focused development options include further expansion of hangar facilities, some potential military development and support facilities, and some potential solar development. Well, okay, there we go. Whoops. So this is some proposed on-airport development. This is not development that we plan on going out tomorrow and building, but as there are opportunities with a company or a developer, these are all potential opportunities to expand in the airport. This is the airport terminal now. In this area here, one second. Okay. To add additional pavement for aircraft parking, buildings, whether they be hangars or maintenance facilities. These in gold are potential development, whether that be non-aeronautical revenue or aeronautical revenue. This area here is an expansion of the existing hangar facilities, some of which have just recently been completed. But all of these offer a great deal more opportunity for revenue streams for the airport. But again, they're not going to necessarily be built tomorrow. They would be built as either federal funding becomes available, or a developer or a potential tenant approaches the airport about building those. We've talked a lot, and it's been in the media a lot, about the potential for relocation of some Air Force operations to Terre Haute. We're very hopeful that that could happen, it would really make a huge economic impact for both the airport and the surrounding community. But if we were to do that, do we have areas identified where we could add additional support facilities? And we have identified those. If the military were to relocate, there would be commercial entities that would provide support to maintenance of either the aircraft or aeronautical systems on the aircraft, that would need to have facilities near the Air Force. And so what we've done is identified an area here that is airport owned property, not National Guard, but airport owned property, where they could lease space. One of the things in the most recent solicitation was that they wanted to have the ability to expand to a 10,000 foot primary runway and an 8,000 foot secondary runway. We've identified how that could happen, and if there were any impacts. There aren't any inappropriate land uses. There aren't any obstructions. They could be any of this development would be subject to environmental processing, but we've identified that on airport property, those expansions could happen. And an additional airport revenue stream is a potential for some solar development. If you're familiar with the Indianapolis airport, as you go into the airport there, you'll see right as you enter the airport, there are a lot of solar panels. That property could not be used for anything else. And so now it's making revenue for the airport in that it's being leased to a company that provides solar power, sustainable energy, and provides a revenue stream to the airport. The same would be true here. This is some airport property along I-70 that could not necessarily be used for any airport development, but is in a prime location that would make sense for potential solar development, and again, provide some sustainable energy options for the area. So we'll move on to gateway beautification. So the big piece that the plan will have is a schematic design workbook. It's for the corridor leading to the airport. And what will it do? It will have a combination of landscape plannings, art, sculpture, signage that sort of announces that you've entered this district, provide some wayfinding, directional information, also provide some continuity along the corridor, make it look similar, highlight certain areas, or even shield any objectionable views, or divert your eye from objectionable views by looking at something clear. So there we go. The idea is that there's a multi-phased approach, but what we'll talk about tonight is phase one, and that's the area right here identified in red. And those areas are right there at the entrance where you have I-70 westbound, the exit there. There's a red light there. So also everyone who has exited down here from I-70 eastbound, if they're coming up, they will also stop at that light or be in that area. So you're catching both of streams of traffic from 70 going north in this area. And so you'll see this is where we'll provide some additional, where we're going to give a lot of detail. So this is the north side of that intersection. You'll see the pilot travel center here. And what it does is, mostly through landscaping, provides a grand entrance. There's one location here that has the opportunity to locate a monument sign. But for the most part, this is all done through landscaping, but drought tolerant, minimal. There's no such thing as no maintenance landscaping, but lower maintenance landscaping, and also incorporates existing trees and shrubs. If you are coming from I-70 westbound from the Indianapolis area and you come up this exit now, you don't actually see much of the truck stop, especially in the summer when all of this is in full bloom and all the bushes are fully leafed out, as well as the trees. You really don't see it at all until you make this turn, because the existing trees do a pretty good job of that. This would just add some interest and detail, to color, that kind of thing along both sides. And again, these are perennials that, rather than annuals, lower maintenance and preserve a lot of these existing trees. But again, defining a grand entrance. This is the lower portion of that intersection. Again, it's just landscaping here, but again, to provide some continuity and begin that grand entrance. This is the concept for the monument sign. I'll go back up here to show you the location. That would be here. Again, the traffic, sorry, that as the traffic comes up through here, they would stop here, they'd be able to see the monument sign, or as the traffic's coming up, the monument sign would be located right here, coming up from the eastbound exit, and the light, they would stop here, and they would also have a good view of that location. This is a sizable sign, but it's something that could be located there without taking a whole lot of land or space, but something that definitely designates your entering Terre Haute. And this is in concert with the See You in Terre Haute campaign with the Chamber of Commerce. It has their colors, their logos incorporated into this, but definitely you have entered Terre Haute identifier. I'm probably pretty far away from the computer, so I'm having a little bit of a lag here. This would be our concept for some directional signage. And this is, again, branding the area, make sure everybody knows you're in Terre Haute, but also provide wayfinding. Airport, it could be casino, it could be VA hospital, it could be urgent care, a number of things here. The idea is to have multiple ones of these along the corridor that provide wayfinding, particularly for the airport, in that there's one sign, I believe, that says airport straight ahead. So it would certainly help to elevate the identity of the airport along that corridor and have everyone understand and acknowledge that the airport is very close and part of the community. And then the last piece we're going to talk about tonight, I tell people all the time, this is not the sexy stuff, but this is the important stuff. And this is where 50 years from now, they will be thanking us for doing it. And that is making sure that the airport's airspace is protected. There are a number of pieces that Vigo County does a pretty good job. It doesn't incorporate all of these elements, but it does protect the airport in many ways with, in their zoning ordinance. But we need to update both the county and the cities so that they incorporate all of the federal compliance as well as the state compliance. So the federal government has a height limitation for the airspace, lighting and signal interference, aircraft noise, so for land use planning, where you should or should not put housing or other noise sensitive development, and also hazardous wildlife attractants. An example of that is you don't want wet retention in an area within 5 miles of an airport because it attracts birds, and birds and planes don't mix. So all of these need to be incorporated in both county and city codes so that any development in the area make sure that these things are protected. State of Indiana also has 2 elements, and that is the tall structure permit and the noise sensitive permit, and those need to be incorporated. They're very similar to the federal, but they're just a little bit different, and they do require permits with the state for any structures in those areas. And again, we need to make sure our zoning accommodates that. I'm not going to go into any detail, and I know you can't see it very well here, but this is just a depiction of the airspace, what it means off of the runway ends at the airport. And although this, there's a multitude of lines on this, some are noise. So these noise contours, they define where you can and can't put certain noise sensitive things like homes, but also you'll see these lines here, and they depict the arrival and departure airspace. And if you build something, it can't be high enough to touch either one of those in a particular area. So we need to preserve that. And this is the area here. People don't realize that that corridor is so close to that runway. So all of the development in this area, all the way up and down, have height restrictions as well as noise restrictions. So we just want to make sure that it's all put on the books and that all development is done compatibly. If we plan for it now, it won't be an issue later. So that we make sure that everything is done thoughtfully. We can accommodate any kind of development that wants to happen along that corridor. It just might not be right here off the end of the line. So working collaboratively, that's where we want to be. This is the depiction of all of those different zones. It's large. It even goes into Clay County. So we will have to address City of Terre Haute, Vigo County, and even Clay County to ensure that all of these areas are protected. But they are large. But it doesn't, again, it doesn't mean that development can't happen there. It just means that it has to be reviewed and make sure that it's not an issue with airspace. It's not an issue with noise. That if it's a tall structure, which there's not a whole lot of tall structures that meet the state criteria in these farther outreaches, but certainly off the end of the runways, that they get their state permit. Same for the Indiana noise sensitive uses. All of those have to be incorporated as well as the hazardous wildlife attractants. So this is a complicated picture, and I don't expect anyone to truly understand it, but that's what we need to get incorporated into county and city code to protect the airport long term. So what do we do next? What we're looking for today is getting the public to look at what we've done and give us some comments. And then we'll take those. There may be something that we've absolutely missed that we have not thought about. We've had a very large group of landowners, developers, interested citizens, universities, all working with us to make sure that we've accommodated or considered their development, their needs, where they think things are going in the area. But that doesn't mean we haven't missed it, and we recognize that. What we're looking for is if there's something we've missed, we want to include it. So we'll take any comments, address those, incorporate them into our file. We'll submit a final strategic plan to the Terre Haute Regional Airport Gateway Steering Group. And part of that process for their adoption will be another public meeting to review that final strategic plan. And then the airport, in conjunction with the city, with the chamber, steering group members, will all work toward implementation of these projects that have been identified in the strategic plan, including beautification, including incorporation of the airspace protections, all of those things. So once it's adopted, there's still a lot more work to be done. So with that, we want to hear from you. We'll take them from this meeting. Probably the best way is to just email us directly, public comment at newhouse.associates, and send us your comments. You can do it tonight, you can do it later, you can put them together, but send them to us by March 19th so that we have time to get them all incorporated. And if you'd like, you can look for this presentation. It's available on huff.com under the news and events section. And so you can see this entire presentation. So with that, I'll turn it back to you all. Do you have anything you'd like to say before we end?
Jeff, Carrie, any comments there? No, I think she covered everything.
All right.
Yeah, I think the thing you see here tonight is a lot of information, and as Monica said, you have an opportunity to give your, input. So we definitely would like to hear from you. Again, I'd like to just thank all the stakeholders that have been out there and helped us through this process. This is, again, a great community project, and it's only as good as what we as a community want to make it. So I know that this is going to be exciting to look back a year, 3 years, 5 years, and see how Terre Haute has grown. Are there any questions? Can we take questions? Are there any questions right now for any of us? I'll leave that open right now.
Chance for questions. Any questions? Well, please, if you have any comment, please don't hesitate to send them. And our internet connection is into them. Okay. If anyone has any comments, please just email them. Public comment at newhouse.associates. There's no .com or .net, just to be clear. And if anybody, we've got. Okay, thank you. With that, anybody else? I think we're good.
Okay, thank you, folks.
Thank
Have a
you
great
very
evening.
much.
Safe. Thank you.